Greetings ladies and gentlemen, I am slicedlime and this is the first video in a new series that many of you have been requesting as of late. This is advanced map making. This is a tutorial series where I will be explaining how many of the concepts I use in my maps, especially Entrapment that was just released, are made, and the kind of things that I think about when I make a map. Like my advanced commands series, this is going to assume that you know command blocks in some shape or form. If you don't, then there's the beginner's command series that will teach you all of the basics about that. So I'll link that in the video description and in the card on the video, so you can go check that out first. We're also doing this series at the point where 1.9 is just about to be released, so I'm going to be doing this series in both Minecraft 1.8 and Minecraft 1.9. I'll show you the variations and what is different between them. 1.9 is obviously much more convenient, but there are plenty of maps that have already been started and it would be a lot of work to convert them into Minecraft 1.9. So this first episode is going to be about how you get started and how we set up our maps to be as efficient as possible. Now, as you can see, I am in pretty much an empty world. This is a super flat world with a preset of one layer of air only. That is all it is to it. I've spawned in creative, you will start falling, so just fly up. Now, I've spawned in at minus 1600 and minus 800. This is not a place we want to be. We probably want to be building our map at roughly 0, just for the simplicity of it, or we want to build it at some other place, but have our spawn chunks at 0, 0. So there are two options. You teleport yourself to 136. And everything, of course, looks the same if you set the world spawn exactly at this position. So 136 whatever and 136, you get spawn chunks of a maximum size with the start at exactly 0, 0. So that's something useful. What I'm going to do here, though, is to do exactly what I did in Entrapment. Entrapment is centered around 0, 0 because of the two arenas. They're much easier to manage that way. So the center of Entrapment is at 0, 0. That means the spawn chunks has to be somewhere else. What you want is to have your entire map somewhere different than in your spawn chunks, because that means that you can do pretty much whatever in terms of command blocks and in terms of armor stands and stuff. You can spawn and unspawn stuff and it's not going to lag at all. Even in 1.9, where command blocks lagging is much less of a problem, you still want your spawn chunks to be somewhere else. I happen to know that at 1008 is the start of a new chunk. So if I go to 1008 and then 1 and 0, then I end up in a chunk of 0. So if you check my chunk, if you check my chunk number here, it says I'm in X and Z 0 of a chunk. Of chunk 63 actually. So from here, you can teleport yourself 136 and 136. And we can get up to 1144 and 136. And if we do set world spawn right here, then we get spawn chunks that start at 1008, 0 and 0. So over here is where the very edge of my spawn chunks are. So we can do set block. Let's just do 1008, 0, 0, emerald block. Now, this is our kind of marker. From here is where our little area begins. So positive Z, positive X is where you will be building all of your fill clocks and stuff. So now we have our spawn chunks set correctly here. We're going to want to do a few things now. So let's teleport ourselves back to around 0. Okay, so if we do set block, let's set a coal block right here. This is the sort of center of our lobby or start of the map or whatever. So let's say that this is the place we want people to spawn. Now the problem that we have caused for ourselves is that our spawn chunks are over in this location. Right here. So people are going to spawn in here somewhere, which we don't want. Now, the way to fix that is to make something that teleports them out of here. And we're going to do that using a fill clock in 1.8 and a repeating command in 1.9. So in order to do that, you want to give yourself a command block. Whoops. Now, seeing as this is 1.8 currently, we have to make a fill clock. positive X, positive Z. This is pretty much the first block I want on the clock. So what we can do is we can run a fill off of here just to get this some kind of idea for how this is going to work. We're going to orient them in the Z direction. So if we put 12 here, we'll get 12 blocks. Let's just make them stone for now. We're going to grab a redstone block and set that there. Now this is the extent of our fill clock. And actually, let's remove that one and replace it. So what you want to be doing is to drive this from the end. The reason for that is that executing any fill commands off of a fill clock will take effect immediately if the fill for that fill clock hasn't been done yet, but it will wait for a while before taking effect if it has been. So in order to not get one tick delay there, you want to be executing your fills for this fill clock as late as possible. Let's do also game rule do daylight cycle false and game rule command lock output false and time set day. There we go. Now, if you know your update orders, you will know that the Z one is the last one to execute. So this is going to be our very last fill. And we can't put one here because it would be overwritten by the other fill, so these two are going to be our drivers of our fill clock. First one is going to be of stone, so we're going down 1 and back 11, and then the fill ends at just down 1, and we're going to fill with stone. So if we remove these and just do that again to verify, you see that it all fills with stone. And of course we're going to want to fill with redstone blocks, and that is this one. It is just back 12 and back 1 in the Z-axis redstone block. Now if we trigger this clock, we'll see that we have a fill clock. If you're going to be making a lot of stuff on this map, you'll be making a whole bunch of fill clocks. Generally you would switch the outputs of them off in here and stuff, and you probably also actually want to do game rule log admin commands false, just to not spam the log if you're running it on a server. That's fairly important. However, since we are not going to have any of our players in this zone, they're all going to be way over there or whatever, we don't really need to care about this. It's not going, the 63 clocking blocks limit isn't so much of a big deal, and the updates for these aren't going to cause any lag when we're actually playing the game, because there's not going to be anyone here. Okay, now the first block that's going to execute is this block. If you're looking in towards the positive X direction, then the first block is this one, because the negative X block is the first one to execute. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the players out of here that just spawn in. These are the spawn chunks after all. And we do that by a simple selector. We're going to do @a, x equals 1008, y equals 0, z equals 0, and then dx equals 272, dy equals 256, dz equals 272. And the reason we use 272 there is because that's the extent of the entire spawn chunk. So whatever people spawn in the spawn chunks, if somebody ever gets there, then we move them out of there. Now, if we just left it at that, then we would remove ourselves from this area, which is not what we want. So let's include an m equals 0 for game mode 0. So what we're going to do is two things. We're going to do a spawn point command for those players, and then we're going to set their spawn point to be 010, which is our actual spawn area, so they spawn in correctly next time. Let's copy that and then make another one over here, which is going to be a teleport command to the same locations. So we set their spawn and then move them away. Now, the reason for doing this is it gives us a very convenient way for getting back to our map and testing things out, which is just to do game mode 0, and we get teleported over here. And then you can do game mode creative and teleport ourselves to 100810 in order to get back to our whole fill clock here. So that is the way that we get players to go to the correct location. Now, if you for some reason need your players to be in creative mode for this map, you can set up a scoreboard where you manually set yourself to have a score of 1, and that lets you be in this area Or you could use the scoreboard players add command to detect players that are new and just move players away from here if they have a score of exactly 1. Both those works, but this in general will work perfectly well. Now let's move over to 1.9 and check out the exact same thing again. I'm just going to quickly show you the customizations for the world. You want to have generate structures off, you want to set the world type to super flat, and of course you want to be in creative mode. The default here is not going to be good. There's a void preset in 1.9 that will work perfectly fine. I actually used exactly this preset for 1.8. So you just get 1 layer of air and you'll be fine. Done. Create new world. You'll spawn in and immediately start falling. So just double tap space to bring your stuff back up to 0. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. So teleport yourself to 0, 1, 0. Set block 0, 0, 0 coal block. There we go, we now have coal. Whoops. Place a little cross of coal here so we know this is the center of our spawn. Teleport ourselves to 11440136. Set world spawn. And then set block at 1008.00 emerald block. Teleport ourselves to 1008.10, and now you see, now we're here. Now let's give ourselves a command block. Let's set up the game rules. So game rule to daylight cycle false. And whether you do that one, by the way, depends of course if you want a daylight cycle for your map. I just like working without a daylight cycle. Command block output false. Game rule log admin commands false. Okay, because we're in 1.9, we don't need the same kind of fill clocks and stuff and worry about all those directions, but we are going to set up the same thing with player teleports here. So find positive X, positive Z. I want to be setting up actually my fill clock offset to this block just in order to be able to, to be able to teleport onto this emerald block. So you can hover in midair by pressing shift and space and and then you can place blocks on other blocks like that instead of opening them. And now we can start doing our commands, and now we only need our 2 commands, which is the spawn point one. I just copy and pasted it from the other one, set it to always active and repeat, and then another one after that, where we use our teleport one, always active and chain. For performance reasons, you want to be using a repeat command block and chains rather than repeats and repeats and repeats. For whatever reason, that is more effective. And it also makes it easier to sort of see where the chain is going and so on. It's not terrible if you end up with more repeats. I'm just, in general, this is the kind of structure that you want. And of course, now we are in our spawn chunks here, and we have the same convenient game mode 0, and we end up at our actual spawn. So that means that regardless of if we're in 1.8 or 1.9, we can start building up our lobby or player spawn around here, and then build the map around that. Now the nice thing about this is you'll never have to worry about the players coming up on your command blocks and stuff, because they are way over here, 1,000 blocks away, and you're never going to see them. Of course, if you expect your map to extend 1,000 blocks in all directions, then move these further out. It doesn't really matter where exactly this is, just as long as it's not in the map area. That's going to be it for this time. Next time we're going to look at map states and how to get fill clocks that are state-based, so they are efficient and quick whenever the state changes, but they're only running when they need to run. So for instance, if you have a lobby system, or if you have a pre-game state, or if your map has several different states where you need different fill clocks to be running, or different command blocks to be running, in the case of 1.9, then I'm going to show you a very efficient way of doing that. And that's actually exactly the way entrapment is implemented. So that'll be next time. I hope you enjoyed this quick introductory episode, and we'll keep going in the next one. Now, if there are any specific topics relating to map making that you want to see a tutorial about, then please leave a comment on this video and let me know what you want to see, and we'll tailor this series after your desires. And that's it. Thank you for watching. My name is slicedlime, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.